What you're saying is that the reason that they started the Federal Reserve in 1913 was not to stabilize the currency or to fight inflation. On the contrary, it was a mechanism to not only create a bank cartel, but wouldn't it be true to say also that it was a mechanism to create a handmaiden for the federal government? So as the government spent money, they could, quote, find money by printing it.
Absolutely. That's the key to the whole equation. I mean, the Federal Reserve is anti-American. It's unelected. It's appointed by Congress. They can't be fired. It's just plain, and it's totally unfair. And when the Fed was established in 1913, they were only supposed to lend, good collateral at high rates for short periods of time to prevent bank failures. That's how they sold it to us. Literally a year after they sold it to us, World War I broke out, and we had to get involved because of globalism and the international spirits of the time. And basically, the Fed was the mechanism for funding that. What they did was they sold Liberty bonds at 3.5%, but they let the banks borrow from them newly issued money at 3%. So the banks got a half a point of profit on everything they borrowed, and the Liberty bonds paid for the war. Okay, that's the good news. The banks make money from the government's point of view. The government gets its war funded. What's the bad news? The bad news is that the level of prices pre-World War I and post-World War I went up 100%. 100%. The price of everything doubled, Dinesh, because of World War I. And of course, that led to all kinds of problems. There were lynchings and race riots and labor unrest, and the Ponzi did his scheme in 2019, and even the Chicago, Black Sox was a 2019 event. I mean, and then of course the liberals and the progressives, they thought, oh, you know what? We got a problem here. You know what the problem is? The problem is alcohol. And so they put the Volstead Act in place and, said we had to go dry and, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, messing around with the money supply like the Federal Reserve does creates many more problems than it solves. They sold it to us as oh my, the banks would fail and that would be really awful and we can't have that. And in fact, that's not what it was. It did prevent the banks from failing, but at a cost of the entire population is going to pay to let those bankers make excessive profits and to let the government, the people in government, do what they wanted to do with our money. It was just an abomination. And that's 1913. I mean, that's over 100 years ago, and it's only gotten worse over that 100-year period.
And wouldn't it be accurate, Larry, to say that if we think of recent history and we highlight some of the key events, going back, let's say, to the Vietnam War, Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, the Iraq War, the massive spending in the wake of the 2008 crash. You mentioned COVID. Really, none of this would have been possible, would it, if it wasn't for having the government have a money printer sitting right by its side? Because think of it this way, if you didn't have the money printer, you would have to go to the American people and say, we want to fight the Vietnam War. It's going to cost so many billions or trillions of dollars, and we need to get that out of you from taxes, in which case the American people would say, no way, go take a hike. So if you didn't have the ability to print money, the government's ability to raise revenue would be greatly limited, wouldn't it?
Completely agree. And I think that's one of the most important points about sound money. Ron Paul said, it's no coincidence that the century of central banking, which was 1913 on, was also a century of war, because central banking allows governments to fund war. I mean, as you pointed out so well, if the government came to all of us and said, we want to go and make Southeast Asia safe so that another domino doesn't fall towards communism, but your taxes need to go up 40%, I think they all would have gotten voted out of office. And so that war wouldn't have occurred. And so, yes, I mean, this occurs over and over again. I mean, we wasted $8 trillion in the Middle East, chasing phantom terrorists and weapons of mass destruction. During the same time frame, China was investing in their infrastructure and getting more productive. It's tragic how poorly the elites of this country have managed our country post-World War II. It's absolutely tragic. It makes me so sad. Such a great country. Still is. The remnant's still here. And we can set it right. We can fix all this, Dinesh, and we're going to fix all this. But we've got to educate everybody to understand the real, true nature of the problem.
Tariffs have thrown the global economy into chaos. Potential widespread inflation tied to massive supply chain disruptions is weighing heavily on all of us, but there's a silver lining that most people miss. President Trump specifically exempted gold and silver bullion from these sweeping tariffs. Policies are triggering significant financial chaos. The administration preserved your ability to diversify into precious metals. If you're concerned about your savings, I encourage you to have a free consultation with the Birch Gold Precious Metals Specialist. The first step is to text Dinesh, my name, Dinesh, to 989898. You'll get a free, no obligation information kit on gold. Learn how to hold gold and silver in a tax-sheltered account. Birch Gold will help you to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. Debbie and I buy our gold from Birch Gold. It's time you did too. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Thousands of happy and thankful customers. Text my name Dinesh to the number 989898. Again, text Dinesh to 989898. You can claim your free information kit on gold right now.